My name is Dr. Elias Mercer. I was a physicist once, a man of science, of reason, of equations and data. But what I saw when I stepped 10 years into the future, none of that matters anymore. This is not a confession. It's not even a warning. It's a record. The last proof that I existed before the sky turned red. I had been working on temporal displacement for nearly 2 decades. Not for money, not for fame, but for truth. The idea was simple. Move forward by 10 years. Just 10. A test run. A glimpse of what was waiting for us. That night, the lab felt wrong. The fluorescent lights flickered and shadows stretched long across the walls, as if they wanted to escape before I did. The air was heavier than usual. My breath hung in front of me even though the room was warm. My hands trembled on the controls. I told myself it was only nerves, but deep down, I think something was already watching. When the machine roared to life, I felt my stomach drop like an elevator falling too fast. Then silence. When I opened the hatch above the bunker, sunlight spilled in. But it wasn't sunlight anymore. The sky had bled itself crimson. The sun was swollen low, almost pressing against the horizon. It pulsed faintly, as if it were alive. For a moment, I forgot to breathe. My mind screamed that this wasn't possible. Stars don't change color overnight. Suns don't become wounds. And yet, there it was. A sky the color of dying embers. A sun that looked back at me. I walked into the city expecting chaos. Looters, refugees, survivors. But there was nothing. The streets were silent. Cars sat rusted in the middle of the road, doors hanging open. Shop windows were shattered, their glass tinted red in the bleeding light. Pages of newspapers, brittle with time, scraped across the pavement in the wind. But there were no footsteps, no voices, no life. It didn't look abandoned. Abandoned things leave traces of departure, bags packed, lights left on, meals half finished. This was different. It looked erased. I ducked into an alley, my heart pounding, and that's when I saw it. My shadow stretched across the wall behind me, warped and elongated by the red glow. At first, I thought it was only the angle of the light, but then I froze, because my shadow kept walking. Even when I stood still, it dragged itself forward, twitching, its head snapping in tiny, unnatural jerks. I stumbled back, pressing myself against the bricks, and the shadow peeled itself free. A smear of darkness sliding along the wall like oil reaching for me. That was when I knew the sun hadn't just changed the sky. It had changed the rules. I ran. I don't know for how long. My lungs burned, my legs shook. When I finally collapsed in the middle of a cracked highway, I looked up and saw the sun again. And I realized it was throbbing. The red sphere pulsed like a living heart, sending faint shockwaves through the clouds. With each beat, the buildings trembled in the distance. And with each beat, I felt something drag closer. It was no longer just light. It was hunger. That's when I noticed them. Figures on the horizon, dozens at first, then hundreds. They stood motionless along the highway, their bodies stretched impossibly thin, arms raised toward the sky. Not people anymore, not really. They weren't breathing. They weren't moving. They were worshiping. Reverent silhouettes in the glow of a dying god. I ducked behind a rusted car, my glasses catching the crimson glare, and for the first time in my life, I prayed that none of them would turn their heads. I ran back to the lab, desperate, slamming the controls, begging the machine to take me home. But the dial spun endlessly. Sparks leapt from the console, and nothing happened. The red light poured through the cracks in the bunker, flooding the room until every surface glowed with blood. The past was gone. There was no way back, and so I stepped outside one final time. The figures were waiting for me, silent and still beneath the swole and sun, and I realized I was one of them now. My body froze. My head tilted skyward, my glasses reflecting that endless crimson glow. The sun pulsed again, louder, stronger, filling the air with a heartbeat that wasn't mine. And as the world turned red, I finally understood. We hadn't survived. We'd been claimed.